potentially more people from homecoming than there are black people in the whole of the UK.
Dominic Raab, who said he wouldn't take the knee for the movement that has arisen since George Floyd was murdered by the police.
Please, could you let 3 million of our people into the country? There'd be absolute uproar.
It's not a rescue effort. I don't believe that.
Organize, sit down, reason and talk.
Greetings and the warmest of welcomes to this week's ORT.
So welcome to this week's ORT, where we will be talking about the government's decision to offer citizenship to 3 million Hong Kongers if they wish to move to the United Kingdom. And this is an offer which rankles the black community because of the treatment towards the Windrush generation, which is still unresolved. And several people have died before they've had a resolution. So this feels pretty painful to have the government be so generous in one direction and mean in the other direction, but we'll get into why that may be. But before we start the discussion around the decision from the British government, we are going to be having a quiz. And we have with us at the moment Ebony Harmony and Brother S, and I know that they are some of the sharpest minds when it comes on to matters relating to black people. So question number 1. How much money has grime rapper Stormzy promised to help fight the fight for racial justice in the United Kingdom? I'm going to give you 3 figures. 7.5 million, 10 million, or 33 million.
Oh. I'm going to say, I hazard a guess at 10 million.
You're hazarding a guess at 10 million, okay.
And likewise. Likewise.
Well, you're both right. I'm sure. I'm hoping there's no cheat. Pardon?
I'm saying touch, Brother S.
Alrighty, sister.
Now team up. Okay, cool. So Stormzy has offered £10 million over 10 years to help young black people. I think that's a really generous offer. What favorite track of Stormzy is yours?
I'm going to say shut up.
Oh, I won't say any more then. I will leave it there. You're clearly not in the best of moods this evening. Question number 2.
I quite like Bossy Pop, actually.
Yeah.
Mugabe took his oath of office shortly after midnight on the 18th of April, 1980. Who was the British Prime Minister at the time?
Ooh. Okay. Margaret Thatcher.
Ebony?
Okay. I will go with Margaret Thatcher on that one because I can't.
Okay, well, it is indeed Margaret Thatcher who said recently, "You renamed your capital city Harare. This, I believe, translates to the one who never sleeps." This seems to be a particularly apt description to the home of a prime minister who has worked tirelessly to consolidate the independence of his country and improve the quality of life of his people. You can't believe Margaret Thatcher said that about Robert Mugabe?
Yes, this is Margaret Thatcher we are speaking about, so yes.
Question number 3, we're going to geography. Haiti shares the island with Dominica. True or false?
Oh, absolutely false.
Yeah, false.
Okay, so who do they share the island with then?
Santo Domingo.
No, I'd
Okay. The Dominican Republic.
That's what I just said. That's what I said.
Okay. So Nina Simone sung a reggae song about the city. and the popular TV drama The Wire was also filmed in this city. What is the name of this United States city?
Baltimore, isn't it? Isn't it Baltimore?
Nah. I'm gonna say. Oh God, I've got it. It's slippy. I'm gonna say Detroit.
Okay. Detroit. Ebony, you were asking a question?
Baltimore, I was saying.
Well, you are right. It is Baltimore indeed.
Yeah.
Established in 1729 and named after the Irish barony of Baltimore, a city built on shipping and tobacco and grain, has a deeply rooted African American heritage, being home to the largest population of free black people half a century before the Emancipation Proclamation. Question number 5. If you asked for something to eat from a dumpling shop, what kind of establishment are you talking about?
Can you say that again?
If you asked for something to eat from a dumpling shop, what kind of establishment are you talking about?
Can that be a Caribbean
A bakery.
A bakery?
Yes.
And what was you saying, Ebony?
I said a Caribbean food shop or restaurant.
Correct.
Thank you.
Although if you said Caribbean before, Brother Hess, I would have loved you. I would have loved you.
Oh, well. Semantic.
Oh, I'm telling you. Yes, man. In the summer, we have semantics in the summer. Which popular black Hollywood couple are all over social media now about their marriage, the open relationships in their marriage, and
Will
Smith and Jada Pinkett.
Yes, exactly.
You don't know the gossipy. Ready to come to certain people don't know the mercy. So, final question now. I hope I get this name right. What program does Maggie Adarin Peacock, MBE, present? Maggie Adarin Peacock.
Yeah, it's a science program. Okay.
Sky at Night.
Stars at Night.
Sky at Night.
Sky at Night, yes.
The two other help each other over the line there. Yes, you're correct. She presents the Stars at Night. Well done.
It's the Sky at Night.
Pardon?
It's the Sky at Night.
Sky at Night, yes.
Yes.
It is that. So thank you. So on to the topic now of this offer from the British government to the Hong Kongers. So I'll just give you a bit of history around why Britain are even involved with this whole discussion. And it's that British Hong Kong was a colony and British dependent territory of the United Kingdom between 1841 and 1997. And the colony period began with the occupation of Hong Kong Island in 1841 during the first Opium Wars, because Britain was heavily involved in trafficking of opium during that time, to the extent that they had so much money, the British government told the couriers or the businessmen to stop bringing money back to the United Kingdom, and they ended up opening a bank in Hong Kong called Jardine and Matheson. Currently, however, the situation with Hong Kong seems to be caught on some kind of geopolitical issue, in that it seems that the offer was made after the British government could not do anything to change the practice and the behavior of the Chinese government of the treatment of Hong Kongers. So the offer came at some point after that. But behind it, it seems that we're caught in the familiar old war of capitalism versus communism. And the offer may be there to kind of try to find some way of embarrassing the Chinese government, the communist Chinese government, by publicly showing them to be insensitive towards the Hong Kongers. And this has been picked up by the Huffington Post, who have said that the Home Office is facing fresh criticism over the Windrush scandal after it emerged that victims having to prove their case beyond reasonable doubt before being given compensation. So at the same time when the British government is opening the doors, practically, to Hong Kong, it is raising the criteria for those who are involved in the Windrush era, who are seeking compensation. It was raising the criteria for them to make their case. You could argue that it is discrimination on the basis of race, but the first thing the British government is going to say, well, Hong Kongers aren't white. So the discrimination card isn't going to work in incurring any favor. But clearly there is favoritism, or at least some differential treatment that's been offered to the people who came here to build Britain during the Windrush era after the Second World War. What is your proverbs on this? If you have one.
I did have
None?
Brother, you want to go ahead?
Yes, sister.
I think she was inviting you to go ahead.
Oh, I see. Well, as regard proverb, I don't know.
Okay.
In terms of having a view on this,
Yeah.
I am disappointed. No, I'm vexed, but I'm certainly not surprised.
Yeah.
Again, the type of offer that we're seeing has been done before. It's not setting a precedent. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like the British, when they're able, can look at a population of people. Perhaps, yeah, they can hide behind, well, they're not white, but there's another agenda. There's a business interest here.
Okay.
Right? And so it stands to good reason that they're going to try and treat the people of Hong Kong differently and more favorably, because they've still got a vested interest in Hong Kong. And if they do this plan, if they carry out this plan, that they will be able to maintain that relationship with Hong Kong. That's not the case with the people of the Windrush. We are, by definition, spent. What they needed us for and what they were needing to invest in us for, we came for free.
So what is the business interest in Hong Kong?
Well, it's all of the business. It's the business infrastructure that's been there for the 100 years up until when they had to give up the lease.
Okay.
Right? So British money is still in Hong Kong. British business is still in Hong Kong. And they need to be able to maintain a bridge between the people of Hong Kong and the business of Hong Kong with the business of the UK.
So we just don't have the financial lure.
No, we don't. And if you think, let's say, what are we now, 2020? So if you think 40 years ago, similarly, they did this with the people when Idi Amin said of the Asians then,
Yes.
right, you keep your money in this country or you can get out. And when those people, when it became known to Mrs. Thatcher round about that time, of course, she said you can come, but you bring your money. In lay terms, it wasn't a white flag. She didn't just offer them respite here or, you know, a life here for nothing. She said, bring your money too, and you come. So this has been done. Those are just two that I'm thinking of in the, the recent past where the British had a vested interest in who it was that they were going to allow to come in. But that's just not the case for us. They're finished with us.
But let me ask you something. The Gurkhas, Joanna Lumley, she stood up for them. And there wasn't a financial aspect behind them getting their citizenship.
Okay.
And I'm sure there were even a smaller number.
Yes, but had people not stood up for them, they'd have sent them back.
So that's what we need now. We need some celebrities to get onto the Windrush case, to be out there and making the case for us with the public.
Well, maybe, but prior to that, we need to acknowledge that what seems to be the pattern is when they need us, they're open to having us. When they're finished with us, they no longer are happy to have us, and they're quick to send us back.
Very powerful argument, one that I cannot really argue against, to be honest, because when you look over the hundreds of years, there's just been that pattern, which is very, very tiresome. However, you know, some of these people who came over, because I do have a proverb. My proverb is, fire there must tail, it think a cool breeze. And it refers to, and I don't want to be harsh to the people who came here when there were 6, 7 and other people's passports, but there was a sense of no emergency or no need to address their status in Britain. And some of them never even went back to their countries of origin. They'd never even been back. And I think that's a really sad way for a person to look at Britain. Yes, we don't have armed police like in America, but Britain has its own ways of executing its judgment, which we've seen more than once.
This is ORT.
Ebony, what do you have to say on this?
To be honest, I really am of the same thought as Brother S. I do believe that there's an underlying business interest here, and I would say quite a large one. I think the British government are trying to sell this on the basis that they're pretty much stepping in to rescue some of the Hong Kong citizens because of the inhumane human rights laws that the Hong Kong government are sort of like enacting, so to their detriment, so it would appear. Or I think
Jamaica has one of the highest death rates in the world. So if they wanted to do something from a humanitarian standpoint.
Well, I don't think they're doing it from a humanitarian standpoint.
Okay, I thought the point you was partly.
No. What I'm saying is that it's a business interest, but if some of the detail is given under the guise of them stepping in under humanitarian sort of standpoint.
Pretext, yes.
Yeah. And the reason why I'd say that, I mean, we're talking about large numbers, first of all. And I think there are some real sweeteners on this one, because currently Chinese or people from Hong Kong who are here, there are some restrictions, I think, on their being in the UK and so forth. But from what I understand, the offer is for them to have leave to remain for 5 years, and after that they'll pretty much be given, or certainly won't be difficult for them to apply for status in the country. I mean, I think, and that is that's almost a giveaway. And I'm a little bit suspicious, or certainly interested, curious about why it's been made so easy. What is the underlying real reason? And certainly I would think business, because I don't think any country, any government does anything for a favour, and certainly not for humanitarian matters, because very often when there are breaches of that respect, wherever in the world, many of the governments have to be sort of like pushed into saying something, let alone think about it. So
this is the point I was making, that one of the the papers, I can't remember which one I was reading, were saying that, you know, the communist element is probably playing a role in the decision making by the British government, in that China is growing in its world influence, and somehow they have to stymie the Chinese project. We see it in the Caribbean, we see it in Africa, we see it in many other countries, and they seem to be getting away with building a very powerful force that can have influence on the world stage. So maybe the the needs of the Hong Kongers are not the primary thing, but actually it's that age-old war between capitalism and communism.
I would certainly agree. I would definitely agree with that, because it would be, a hard-pressed coincidence that, as you say, we can see that across the world, China are really sort of like making their presence felt in many countries. So it's a little bit timely that this is now happening now. Is that a coincidence? Really? I'm not sure. I think there is some real sweetness happening here, because I think it'd be difficult for the Chinese to come and pretty much take over here as they have done across the Africas and the Caribbean and so forth and what have you. I think there is some sort of offer on the table. There's definitely beneficial to the UK for them to get that open door invitation. It's not a rescue effort. I don't believe that.
Okay.
Listen, and we're missing a huge thing here. I was born here, and as long as I've been here, I've heard echoes resonate at different times, at different periods through the political structure, talking about there's enough of them here.
Oh yeah.
There's enough of us here. There's enough of them here. Where are we going to put them? Right? We're tired of it. Send them back. Where are we going to put them? There's not enough space for everybody now. Yeah. They're taking our houses. They're taking our women. They're taking our jobs.
Yeah. I mean, what's his name? UKIP man, Nigel Farage. He was even saying the immigrants are responsible for the traffic, the volume of traffic that's on the road.
Okay. So why is it the British public are now not jumping up and down saying, where are we going to put them? Where are we going to put... There's going to be potentially more people from Hong Kong than there are black people in the whole of the UK.
Yeah.
If any African or Caribbean island or nation of Africa was saying to the British government, as a result of our joint efforts, be it financially, economically or otherwise, that please could you let 3 million of our people into the country, there'd be absolute uproar.
Well, let me just add this to what you're saying. And this is something that Dominic Raab is quoted as saying. Dominic Raab, who said he wouldn't take the knee for the movement that has arisen since George Floyd was murdered by the police. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He said, Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab said that there would be no limit on numbers or quotas, and the application process would be simple. This is a special, bespoke set of circumstances developed for the unique circumstances we face. And in light of the historic commitment, you hear that? Historic commitment to the people of Hong Kong, he said, speaking to ITV's President's program, Mr. Raab acknowledged there will be little we can do to coercively force China to allow British overseas nationals to come to the UK. That's the other part of it. Is this just theatre for the political interests of both the United Kingdom and the United States? I even just put it as Western Europe. But what I was pressing there was he wouldn't take the knee for the Black Lives Matter, but to let 3 million people enter in the country, for him, he just wants to be a very simple and straightforward process. I think Kindred Spirit is here, you know.
Greetings, everybody. Apologies for the lateness.
Greetings, Kindred.
Good to be back.
Welcome. Kindred, what do you want to say on this topic? We've got about 10 minutes left as it stands.
Wow, it's loaded. My immediate response to this is I'm not sure I'm buying it. There is something almost bogus about this, and I think there's always more going on, you know, underneath the surface. You take that as given, but there's something bogus about this, because to even think about how the infrastructure could actually cope with the influx of 3 million extra people just boggles the mind, first of all. And secondly, given everything...
They're going to make some way by sending the Windrush people back.
That will clear a little bit of space, but it's not going to clear 3 million. And secondly, the whole sort of paranoia and fear that has been around as a result of the COVID, and what the perception is as to where that all came from, and all the discussions that were going on about China, as little as 2 or 3 months ago. There's something odd about all of this. Really odd. I think they're playing to the gallery, but quite who the audience is, I'm not sure.
As I said, Kindred, just before you got here, the commentators in the media are saying, well, some of them are saying that there may be a connection between the age-old left and right, black and white, communist and capitalism war that's embedded in all of this.
I think that's a valid point, and there is a war being played out that's been played out for a very long time and shows no sign of calming down. And the thing is that China has raced along at such a breakneck pace to kind of catapult themselves into the position that they're in now, that I suspect that there are efforts going on amongst other sort of the Western countries to see what they can do to rein them in. Yeah. And I think this is an international game of chess, as it always is. Yeah. And sometimes it's about who blinks first. So I think this is probably, they're putting this on the table, and I think it's probably to test the Chinese reaction to it.
Well, I think you got some very valid points there. What I'd like to add to that is, one, our cause always seems to get caught in the middle.
Yeah.
Just as our Jamaica got caught in the middle between Cuba and America, here again, the plight of the Windrush people gets caught or gets overlooked by the Chinese and what they want to do. And the other part are the British and how they're viewing the Chinese. And you've made a very good point, or you made a point to say that, China has rushed along. Can I say America, Canada, Britain, France, Germany, West Indian countries in Africa, they all give China business.
True, yeah.
There's hardly anything you can buy that is made in China. So how on one hand, you want to have issues about their political movement, about their civil rights, but at the same time, even for a cup or a glass or something really that could be made in your own country, you're sending it to China to be made. That's total hypocrisy.
I think a lot of Western democracies want to have it both ways. And I think that they love the aspect of China that is about the cheap labor, the almost the ruthless state control of the population. It's a very controlled society, and there are elements of that they really like. The problem is they can't compete with it. They want it and they can't compete with it. So they're trying to see, the only alternative is to then see if you can rein China in a bit. And I think it's a very, very tricky game that they're trying to play. And a lot of the kind of the global unrest that we've been seeing in response to the George Floyd killing, I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that there is an opportunity now to look at how state control can actually work. And I think the Chinese model is one that a lot of the Western countries secretly envy. And I think there's stuff going on behind the scenes that is really, that's the part that we play in it. I think we are as usual, the lab rats who they're looking to test all this on. I think ultimately it is about control. And there's something going on here between them with us as the pawns in the middle.
So what can we do about it then? I've got some posts I'm going to include with this when we send this out with Eddie Nesta and a few other people who are making their noises. But I haven't seen anything on any terms of any protest or lobbying or of that nature to raise our disgruntlement with how we're being treated once again.
It's true, considering the despicable treatment of the Windrush generation across the board and what they're now being told about having to prove beyond reasonable doubt that they have a right to compensation. we are a lot more muted than, yes, there is protest, but we're a lot more muted than we could be, given the massive slap in the face that is.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that we have to bear in mind that Britain won't see it as such. Yes, in order for Britain, historically, in order for Britain to have developed and established a economic and financial relationship with Hong Kong, we have to remember they put China to sleep during the Opium Wars. That was the only way that the ships could go past China in order to dock in Hong Kong. They put them to sleep. So they have, like I said, a historic investment with Hong Kong that is entrenched in over a century's worth of investment. They're not going to let that go now. They know they can never fight China fist to fist, hand to hand. So this is the way that they do it. And I think it's going to continue. And a little distraction like the Windrush, they're going to say, well, boy, that shouldn't even really be spoke about in the same breath.
Yeah. What can we do about it? We know they set their agenda. What can we do? Because we may be, as I'm saying, Jamaica, we're little but we Talawa. There are 7.5 million people in Hong Kong. Heaven forbid if they were to allow the whole 7.5 to come. And if they allow 3, why not allow 7? But what can we do? We have a couple of minutes left. What can we reasonably do apart from being upset?
It's the question, what are we prepared to do? I mean, because at this stage where, as you said, when we're not sort of like protesting or making any sounds, we're not making our approaches to Parliament. What is it that we're prepared to do? We know it's happening. There are a number of things that we can do. They may not affect the change that we'd hoped for, because I think the wheels are in motion and they're going to keep moving despite us and despite what's happening in regards to Windrush and so forth, because, what will be, because this is what they want. And it's about what are we prepared to do.
I guess this is something that we'll ask for comments on from the listeners, and we will continue to raise our voice on this where we can on any platform we can in the meantime.
Indeed.
Brother S, Ebony Harmony, Kindred Spirit, thank you for your contributions today. Thank you to the listeners. I'm Kush, your host, and this was ORT. What good.
Thank you, brother. Blessings, sisters.
Peace.
Peace, everybody.
Blessings, brother.
Take care.
Okay. Peace.
Included below are related links to this discussion. Please share, comment, and subscribe. And remember, talk the thing.